I liked writing in college, and so that was one thing I wanted to look for in a career, something that would give me the opportunity to write as much as possible. I thought of law school in the background as an option, sort of off and on throughout my college career, but then it sort of really got into high gear when I studied abroad for my junior year in England, and I shared a house with almost all law students. And listening to them over dinner and just hanging out about what they were working on and the kinds of careers that were available, I decided that when I got back to the US for my senior year, I would really focus on trying to dedicate myself more to the study of law. Even though it wasn't something I really set out to do when I started college, it was just a really natural fit, and I loved every minute of it. And that's actually why I decided I wanted to teach, because of how much fun I had in law school. I just didn't want to ever leave that environment. It means everything. I mean, this is really the ultimate honor that a person in my profession can achieve. So it's very humbling. In a sense, it creates some new pressure. I want to make sure that I live up to the very big shoes of my predecessor, Professor Shelly Kurtz. But I'm excited about that. It'll be a good challenge. It's certainly given me even more motivation to try to do what I can to raise the profile of Iowa and to help our students and just do what I can to improve understanding of my field and again to honor the legacies of everyone who has come before me, as well as the donor who made this chair possible. So I couldn't be happier. Just really excited for the next few years. When I got the news, I was speechless because, like I said, it just is the most exciting and proud moment of my career. But what I find most enjoyable about being in the class is watching the students solve and work through some of these very exciting and difficult legal problems. That activity is what I found most exciting and rewarding in law school. So to be able to now help other students experience similar insights and satisfaction is incredibly rewarding. My favorite course to teach is business associations. It's my largest course usually. I usually have between probably 80 to 90 students. And it's the one where it brings a wide cross-section of students. While the subject might, I think, strike many people as being on the drier side, when they get into our discussions, I think they see the human development, or the human element, I should say, in many of these cases where you have people who are very greedy in some cases, very smart, very unsophisticated, very sophisticated, and all of these cases we get to see very interesting human interactions in a way that create drama and interest around this larger subject of business law. So I think a lot of students and myself, we just find the cases very interesting. It's almost like watching little movies, dramas, because of how impassioned some of the parties are in the disputes that we study. For many of the cases that we read, the stakes are incredibly high for the people involved, and so trying to bring that, make that clear for the students that when we talk about a business dispute, in many situations, it's someone's livelihood, it's their dream on the line. I think just the amount of time and effort that it goes into pulling off a successful class was something that surprised me. The good news is that the work is fun and it's interesting because, as I said before, one of the nice things about teaching is you get a chance to exercise both your analytical muscles as well as your creative muscles to try to make the material come alive for the students. My area of research focus is primarily on corporate law and corporate governance, and then within those two larger topics, I like to focus quite a bit on ethics and compliance. So in a nutshell, I look at how corporations make decisions, and then when it comes to their compliance with the law, what conditions influence whether they do or don't comply with rules and regulations. And so, within that bigger field, it can take me in a lot of different directions. So over the course of my decade or so writing and teaching in these areas, I focused on things like corporate corruption, what rules govern how corporations do business in markets where behaviors like bribery and extortion are very real risks and possibilities. I've also looked at a relatively new type of business model, which I refer to as the social enterprise. This is a for-profit corporation that is trying to make money for investors, but at the same time also working to solve social and humanitarian problems at the same time. And so the nice thing about corporate law and corporate governance is that there's almost every aspect of the legal world that it comes into contact, that those areas come into contact with. So it's been able to take me in a lot of really interesting directions. The law sort of is like an operating system. It provides a lot of the background parameters for how an outcome might be achieved, and sort of piecing all of those things together in new ways to come up with creative solutions is a big part of what our research looks like. One of the things that, in terms of opportunities, is, if you think about business law and businesses in general, they touch every aspect of our lives every day. And so it's not a field that you have to worry about it going out of style. There will always be opportunities, even in economic downtimes and in good times. The specific types of issues will often change, but it's a very stable practice area given how much the law affects how the business community functions. So it's a really rich field to go into. It's very rewarding in the sense of being able to help people solve very complex problems that will greatly affect their lives. It's something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily first think of with business law, but there's a major counseling element to it, where you're helping people find themselves preventing getting into trouble down the road. And then when you save them from those circumstances, and they realize that, they're very grateful, and it's very satisfying to be able to help people prevent problems before they manifest. Well, I think one thing that is interesting is that there's been a growing interest in corporations' obligations to society at large. So both consumers and employees, I think, of a lot of firms are focused more on how will the corporation impact things like the environment or the political landscape. And so trying to be, as a lawyer, help companies navigate these pressures that have always sort of been there in the background, but I think are becoming more intense in recent years. I think will be a challenge for our students as they enter this field. I think the role of technology is also something that can't be overlooked, and seeing how so much work and the practice of law can occur via remote video platforms and the like. How will that affect how firms move forward in the future, I think, is a big open question. Just what will work look like, I guess, is maybe the bottom line for someone going into this space.